Okay, well, shall we get on with Farscape does Back to the Future?
Yes, let's do it.
What the hell's a gigawatt?
Hi, friends,
Howdy, y'all.
and welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Flat Culture Critic videos on YouTube.
I'm Josh Gosdin. I'm a big old nerd.
And with us mainly today is Mandy. Mainly Mandy.
That's me. Mainly
Hi,
Mandy.
Mandy.
That's me. Hello. Happy to be back again. I think this is my fifth time now. I've been on now a few times.
We are
Yeah,
gonna
you
have
get
to
the
get you a
jacket.
badge or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love a badge. I would love like the 5 times club like they do for SNL or whatever.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it won't be our last time, even though we have about half the
Oh yeah.
season left.
No, there's still time to get me in a few more times. Still time.
So we are here for the back in time. Uh, yep.
Back to the future.
Yes.
Back to
We're
the
going
Farscape.
88 miles per hour or 88 miles per hour, and we don't need no roads. Uh, Kansas, written by Justin Monjo and directed by Rowan Woods. When last we left our hero, John had made it home to Earth. Well, almost Earth. He is floating above it in a spacesuit with no ship in sight. Luckily, Moya is able to reach his comms through a connecting wormhole, and so Dargo, Aaron, Chiana, Naranti, and Rigel pile into Lola and follow his signal to collect him. Scorpius and Sikozu stay aboard Moya under pilot's supervision. Once aboard Lola, John immediately checks local Earth broadcasts and discovers that he's time-traveled back to 1986. This is just what Einstein warned him about. He returned before he left, and so may have changed the timeline. If he did, it would start close to his own life. So John drops in on his childhood home, and yes, there is a change. His father Jack is now set to lead the doomed Challenger mission. He explains to a skeptical Rigel that if he loses his father, he may never become an astronaut, never fly the Farscape mission that brought him to the uncharted territories and into their lives. They need to fix this. Luckily for our misfit crew, it's the day before Halloween, and there happens to be an abandoned house in the neighborhood they can hide out in. There's even some rather groovy clothes to change into. John watches his angry teen self conflict with his father, and then makes a rather ham-fisted attempt to connect with the boy and ask him to talk Jack out of leaving. Well, that doesn't work. So plan B. He talks to his mom, posing as a concerned fellow tarot card reader, and asks her to talk Jack out of leaving. But he doesn't trust that that will work well enough, so on to plan C. He's going to recreate an accident from his past about this time, where he ended up in a brief coma, and Jack stayed by his side. Meanwhile, in tormented space, Commandant Greza has found Moya. Unable to run, Pilot allows the peacekeepers to search the ship while Scorpius and Sikozu hide. But Scorpi does reveal himself to Braca, and the two of them have a, rather intimate reunion. Back on Earth, the crew haven't been laying as low as John had hoped. First, Chiana went off exploring, and then the rest of them attracted the attention of a nosy Karen and a state trooper. Granny deals with the trooper with her patented drugs-in-face method that works about as well as expected. Chiana's exploring, meanwhile, put her in the path of young Crichton, who mishears her name as Karen Shaw, and they hit it off a little too well. On Moya, post-embrace Braca reassures Scorpius that Greza doesn't know he's spying for Scorpi. He then leaves the ship with the rest of the peacekeepers, unaware that Greza has planted a creature on Moya to hunt Crichton on his return. Well, now it's time to put John's plan into effect. Chiana will bring young John to the abandoned house, where Naranti will give him a sleeping potion. Dargo will set smoke charges to simulate the house being on fire so Jack can rescue young John. He will then turn down the Challenger mission and stay with young John as he recovers. But as always, our crew's plan goes astray. First, Chiana deflowers young John, then Granny overdoses him. As young John's heart stops, adult John pulls a Marty McFly and starts to fade away. And that's when the state trooper comes knocking with his partner. Dargo and Aaron knock out the troopers while Naranti revives young John. Adult John, while still mostly invisible, tells his mother where his young self is. She sends Jack to the rescue, but he trips and knocks himself out. Nothing is going quite right. Eventually, the crew get everyone out of the building, Naranti having used memory drugs on everyone except the original trooper. Jack revives and gets his still unconscious son medical care. He won't be leaving with the shuttle, and everything will go back to the original timeline. Well, everything but the trooper, who we find telling his story to a couple of extremely interested agents. Back in space, the crew are able to communicate with Pilot, who went through the wormhole separately, and he is back in the present. The crew follow his signals and find another Earth, or rather, the same Earth, but in the present day. As John returns to Moya, he finds a very familiar face. But is he really home? Is this his real father? Was it a bass or a trout? Tune in next time for answers. So, first things first. We're all agreed that Scorpius and Braca boned, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely.
Those two are boyfriends. Okay.
Yes.
They are life partners. They are together until the end.
Yeah, they have a
History
very
will call them
particular
roommates.
dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really do.
I think I let out during our reaction, which you can find on our Patreon. During our reaction, I think I let out a very oh kind of a noise when he like dashes up to him as though it's across a meadow, and and like
He's
The
so
forehead kiss.
proud of his promotion. And then before apparently Ben Browder wanted it to be like a mouth kiss, but I think that the weird like forehead it's somehow it's more intimate.
It's more
It is.
intimate, and I remember. I think I remember there being an interview with William Hygrim that plays Scorpius, saying that he wanted to do it because he was very inspired by like a Roman salute or something like that, like the idea of like a in like old school Roman media, whatever. When you see that presented, the idea of like kissing on the forehead is this very like ritualistic sign of like loyalty almost. The way he explained it was really interesting. So I like the forehead kiss so much, and also a forehead kiss is just so cute. Like
your forehead kisses are great.
And
They're
it's
great.
it reinforces the Dom sub thing that we know they have.
That's
Big
exactly
time.
what I was going to say. A forehead kiss is
100%.
very a forehead kiss
It's
is very
good
Donnie
pet.
in that context.
Good
Very
pet.
much. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, so they're gay.
So gay. That's okay.
So
Well,
gay, and
love
that's
it.
okay.
I think we could I think Scorpius is probably Pan.
Oh yeah, no, he's down for anything.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm gonna let Scorpius tell me.
Because we had him with Spider Lady,
Mhm.
and he's definitely
Naranti.
got a thing. No,
No, not Naranti. Natira. There you go.
Scary Spider Lady.
Yeah. Not end names.
And him and Sikozu definitely are
Oh yeah.
doing a thing. So
Well, he's like a male femme fatale. Like he's not above wielding his sexuality when it is to his
Mhm.
advantage,
yeah.
unquestionably.
The one thing we know he's not is straight.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Yeah.
It was funny every time on just now on the so the summary, whenever you start to say state trooper, and so you would say straight trooper, and it's like that man was very aggressively straight, so fair. Like that man was so straight, and he was walking in just like, I don't know what's happening. Just he was so confused.
That's what
He was
happens
the-
when you
he
hear
was
my
the straight
unedited
trooper.
version.
He had the
Yeah.
expression of every straight ally who's ever gone to a pride event for the first time and been a little overwhelmed. Like that was his expression. Like I'm here, but also I'm a little concerned.
hmm I'm here, you're queer. Like, what do I do?
What do I do? Exactly.
Yeah. So that felt like the first thing to get out of the way. But anyway, initial thoughts.
This is we already kind of said it. This is a Back to the Future episode. This is a time travel episode. A time travel episode is just kind of silly and fun. It's one of those episodes where some of the logic doesn't really make sense, but I'm here for it. I'm fine with it. It's good. Whatever. I'm down. It's just kind of a fun episode. It's so strange that the episode kind of, along with being a Back to the Future reference, is also, like you mentioned, a Voyage Home reference too, and the idea like there's this kind of like circular time logic happening where like we knew prior to this that John had lost his virginity to someone named Karen Shaw, and then it turned out it was Gianna. pretending to be human, and apparently that's who he lost his virginity to. And on the one hand, it's like, okay, that's a little weird because it's Chiana, and their vibe is definitely more brother sisterly, but also it kind of makes sense in a Farscape way.
Yeah,
Of
and
course, in
also
Farscape, that's how it works.
I just want confirmation that he's 18 because
That
he
was what I
doesn't look
was.
18. And
He
Yeah.
does look very young.
yeah, and also he has a girlfriend,
And also, he has a
Tiana.
girlfriend. He is going to eventually break up with him, maybe because she finds out he fucked Karen Shaw. Um, which,
Yeah, like
yeah.
John isn't a cheater. Why would we make John a cheater?
Teenage
Yeah.
John
So
apparently is.
Teenage John doesn't feel much like John, but as adult
Yeah.
John tells him, you'll get over most of your issues.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be really interesting now because I feel like the age gap between teenage John and our John is about I think he and I are about the same age, like mid 30s, right?
Yeah, and he said this was 17 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about like if I went back in time and met my 16 or 17-year-old self, how much would I recognize myself? And to some degree,
Mm,
quite a lot, because I still love Star Trek, still a big old nerd, all that kind of stuff. But also, in a lot of ways, I am a very different person now than I was when I was 16 or 17. And who among us isn't, you know?
mhm,
Oh, the conversation I would have. The come to Jesus. We are going to sit down and you are going to shut your ass up and listen to me. Conversation
mhm.
I would be having with my 16-year-old self.
But you can't do that though,
You
because then you'd
can't.
start to fade out like Marty
Right.
McFly style.
Exactly. Why, like,
Disappear.
his conversation is so ham-fisted and messed up. But I can also totally understand because I think we'd all get
Oh
annoyed
yeah.
with our teenage self and just be like, what the fuck are you doing?
So I really had a lot of fun with this episode. I love time travel as a plot device, just in general. I feel like it has a lot of great storytelling potential. It always opens a lot of doors. The comedy in this episode was hitting for me.
Mhm.
Like Dargo's deadpan observational comedy about absolutely everything. It was cracking me up. Um, the slapstick surrounding the straight trooper, uh, like that was all fantastic too. Like
Mhm.
Um, there were a couple of misfires for me, and I feel like the structure of the plot was trying to be just as zany as the plot itself. Like the way that every time they tried to do something, something about that would go wrong. But for some reason,
Mhm.
I can't quite put my finger on it, that didn't quite land as zany so much as it did as like 10-year-old kid writing a story. Like, and then he trips and falls, and then the house catches, it was very like, okay, do you want to stick with something? In a way that was a little distracting for me structurally, but I had a lot of fun with the story and I had a lot of fun with the plot. And I'm really excited about the cliffhanger that we left off on.
Hmm.
Really solid cliffhanger. And yeah, I agree, Josh. I don't think this is the strongest Farscape episode. It's a fun episode. I think it has some gaps and some problems. Like all of the stuff surrounding the cop, even though that is kind of funny, doesn't really work or make sense. Like, so they put an unconscious cop in a car and then drove away with the wheels, like with the brakes screaming and everything, and the gear shaft all messed up. And that neighbor just kind of was like, oh, I don't know. It just some of that, like, don't get me wrong, it's funny, but like it doesn't really make sense. And I do love Dargo's interaction with the cops when he's just
Mhm.
like, the guy's like, you seem a little old to be, dressing up for Halloween. He's like, no, yes,
Bite
bite me. Like he's trying to find the right response. But also, you know what? If someone told me I was too old to dress up for Halloween, I'd also tell them to bite me. So
Yeah.
honestly, correct response.
and they set it up well because he's like,
Yeah.
Tiana taught me some words. All I need to know,
Yeah.
yes, no, bite me.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was a lot that works, and then there's some that like I think like if you're gonna have shit like well he randomly falls, then there should have been like something. It should have been like over Rigel's candy or something. Like something
A
that
Chekhov's
Yeah.
gun.
yeah, like
Yeah.
a reason that is connected um, you know, to them rather than he just happens to fall. But
Yeah.
that's,
Right.
those, but there are always those things that could be tightened. I think it's, overall is it's a very good, very fun episode. One of Justin Monjo's best because his episodes tend to be a little bit hit and miss.
Mm.
This was a hit. No,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I do think that Rigel is the most done part of the entire plot because 100% if Rigel went back in time and found himself on Halloween, all he's doing is eating candy. That is
Hmm
100% him eating candy and then like aggressively, manically carving up the pumpkin. Like
hmm
100% they got Rigel completely right.
And we got our ET little Easter eggs in with the Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I'm with Rigel. I miss sugar.
One of the things that I think I brought up during the reaction was kind of the very interesting choice to set the story surrounding the Space Shuttle Challenger.
Mhm.
Um, because like so this episode came out in what, like 03, 05? What did we figure out?
Oh, three because
Oh, three.
Oh, three.
they say at the end.
Yeah. And in 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia also exploded
Mhm.
when it was coming in for a landing. And you pointed out, Sarah, very rightly, that the Columbia brought up for a lot of folks memories of the Challenger, which exploded in 1986. And but it's especially for an Australian production, like the Space Shuttle Challenger in 2003 was not the historical reference that I was expecting them to make. It's not a very like front of the cultural zeitgeist at the turn of the 21st century, except for, as you pointed out, the fact that the Columbia just blew up.
Kansas was aired on December 30th, 2002. So the end of 2002, and the Columbia was 2 months later on February
Oh,
1st. So
Oh.
it
interesting.
actually
Okay, so it's actually
interesting,
before.
interesting, yeah.
Hmm.
And it would have
Um,
been filmed well before the obviously. So yeah, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing with with the Challenger is for a lot of Gen Xers, they even though it wasn't a huge Challenger wasn't a huge thing to most people, because there was a school teacher on board, they tried to interest the kids by bringing TVs into the classroom and showing them. So although
Hmm.
they didn't, I was in Canada, I was 6 years old at this time, so I was a little bit younger than a lot of the people who watched this firsthand, because kids like in kindergarten and like elementary school in America we're all sit down to watch this amazing feat of putting a school teacher in space, and instead they watched a
Yeah,
school teacher got blown up. And
Yeah.
yeah.
so like although it isn't like a major memory to a lot of people in the world, it's not like a 9/11 or something. um, to that particular generation in America, it kind of was this big thing because they watched it in school. And I think because this is a show about astronauts, it's not surprising that you'd go for a space program disaster, a NASA disaster. And when you think about big NASA disasters, there's the death of the, I think, Apollo 1
Hmm.
Hmm
crew. There's the Apollo 11, or no, Apollo 13, and there's Challenger. And the Challenger is the one at the right age for John. So I
hmm
think I think I can understand why, it was probably Justin Monjo was probably about the age to have watched, if not in with the kids, to have seen the Challenger. And it just, since this is all about astronauts, I can see the mathing.
It,
Um,
it I think it does, man. I think you explained it really well. I find it a really interesting storytelling choice. I know about the Challenger because I'm a big old nerd.
well, so is John.
Yeah. I guess I just wonder, and I mean, it's interesting too that you brought up 9/11 because I read an article a while back that talked about the generations in the United States each having their own, like, I remember where I was when moment.
Mm-hmm.
And for millennials, I remember where I was with 9/11. For baby boomers, it was kind of split between Kennedy getting shot and Apollo 11 landing on the moon. And for Gen X, the responses were very scattered, and they did include the Challenger.
Mhm.
Uh, but they also included things like Reagan getting shot, and stuff like that. But like there are those kind of, I guess, core cultural growing up touch points for each generation.
For
Mhm.
me, it was the fall of the Berlin Wall.
That was on
I,
there too.
yeah, because I remember listening uh, to discussions of it on the radio, and my dad asking my dad what a coup d'état meant.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, we actually had that
But
conversation on election day. I was working election day, and you can't talk about politics. So what do you talk about? And we ended up talking about COVID, and that led to talking about, in the break room, and that led to talking about different generations in the room there. You know, I remember where I was when.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there weren't really, I was the closest to Gen X in the room, but I'm like sort of cusp millennial. So I don't, there wasn't anyone bringing, nobody said the Challenger, but yeah, yeah. Anyway, so yes, it's an interesting event to pull up. And it fits uh that John is able to explain it because of course the crew have no context for Earth stuff.
Mhm.
And apparently they had in the writers' room they had quite a discussion about whether to include footage of the disaster or not, and they ended up going, sort of John's memory of it would be the TV footage, so that's how we got
Mhm.
that.
And I think that was smart to do because, like, I when I watched Farscape for the first time and watched this episode for the first time, I had heard of Challenger, obviously, because that's kind of like a thing you hear about growing up. I didn't see Challenger. I was born in '87, so I missed it. So, like, for me, it's not like a cultural memory. I wasn't even a thought in someone's head yet, like I wasn't around. So like I think it makes sense to show the footage so that anyone who maybe wouldn't have the context of what challenge is and why it was so devastating can would see that and then go, oh yeah, like we have actual footage of a rocket exploding and it had a full crew on it and everybody died. So like I think that was ultimately the right choice. And they show it very briefly. It's very quick, so it's not like they linger on it or anything. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think that was ultimately probably the right choice because you would have had people like my generation or even younger who are watching the show and wouldn't necessarily understand the impact of that.
But I like that they took the time to think about whether it
Mm,
was appropriate and how much and what was responsible.
Yeah.
There's a thoughtfulness to that.
for sure. I'm not to like completely switch gears, but can we talk about the amazingness that is Aaron Sun berating a child on Sesame Street? Can we just talk about that for a second? Because that's my favorite part of this episode. It's just Erin like getting really excited. She's learning. She's watching Sesame Street. The importance of PBS, folks. And then she's like, "This girl's slow. How does she figure it out?" Like she's like berating this child on one of the most infamous Sesame Street clips of all time. It's
Yeah,
great.
see, that is a cultural memory I think that a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
another
people
cultural
have
memory. Yeah,
is the little girl and Cookie Monster and then ending with
yeah,
I love you.
yeah. It's really cute. But Erin just being like, "This girl is slow," and just like she's just angry about it.
Yes, that and Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of
I love
Fortune.
I love Aaron learning English. Like that's it's such a cute little thing they're
It
doing.
is.
And while we're on the subject of Aaron as Cher.
Yes.
Ah,
Claudia Black looks great with her midriff showing. She just does. That
Yeah,
is just a
I
true fact about
just
Claudia Black.
yes. She does not skip ad day.
No, she does not.
no, no, she doesn't. No, the whole Claudia Black as Cher, but then also Chiana in a mini skirt running around doing a slide across the hood. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, 17-year-old John. Yeah.
And those jeans do fit John awful nice.
I
They
was waiting for you to bring up
do.
his butt.
While we're here, we gotta talk about
While we're
John's butt.
talking about everybody being cute,
John in a pair of jeans. Yeah.
I mean, we
He
love
wears
the
a
leather pants, but it's nice for it to have a change.
It must be such a nice like change for John to wear something that breathes a little bit more
He's so
than leather
excited.
pants. Yeah.
He's
He's
so
like, oh, thank
excited when they come.
God. I don't have to
Jeans.
chafe for once. Like, I don't need to
yeah,
douse myself in baby powder before I put these on.
leather
They
leather
must have
pants are
face
no
baby
joke,
powder,
man.
right?
Yeah, just imagine John and like the Ross from Friends situation
Hmm.
with the
Yeah. Yeah,
paste pants.
exactly. Yeah.
Ah,
I do
yes.
really like the dress that Shiana wears. Like it really suits her, like that pink against her gray skin. It looks great. I
Yeah.
mean, it's Shiana, she always looks great, but like it's nice to see Shiana with some color and have it be like, oh, that looks really good on her. Good job.
Yeah, it is just particularly adorable.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just some really good costuming. I love the 80s here. It doesn't feel like how a lot of shows like do time travel and they're like, look, it's the 70s,
Yeah.
and everybody is in
Hmm.
this, but the 80s version that they're presenting just feels very lived in. I can almost smell
Mhm.
the smoke.
Yeah.
Like my mom had a shirt, like had a haircut like Mrs. Crichton, and I
Hmm.
remember those shirts, and like the Karen lady is in the bright colors, and she
Mhm.
like she may as well just be standing there going, buy cabbages, as to,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
she's a cartoon character because
a little
she
bit.
just kind of reacts. And why are they why are people throwing the bird at me?
Right.
We'll call
A
her
lot of
Karen
middle fingers in
Cabbages.
this episode. A lot of middle fingers.
Hmm.
You brought up Crichton's mom. That's a whole thing in this episode is getting to see Crichton's mom
Mm.
again. The last time we
Yeah.
saw her, I think was the episode was it won't get filled yeah, it won't get filled again. I think was the last time we saw her. Of course, this false vision of her being alive, and then he saw her like dying of cancer at one point, and it's just like this really emotional thing that clearly still haunts John is her death. So to have her alive again, and the last thing he says to her or tries to yell at her is a warning about, when you feel the pain, don't wait. But she doesn't hear it because she's
Yeah.
already like, oh, I need to save my son. And it's a really it's a nice little like grounded emotional sort of bit of this episode, I think. I almost wish there was more of that because I feel like in reality, even though John has to like fix the timeline, there would be more of a desire to be like, that's my mom. Like she's not here anymore. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's
Mhm.
something I almost wish there was more in the episode. But I do like it too. Like him connecting over the tarot and then he does the ghost thing to to get her to go save himself.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like how understated it is.
Mhm.
Because I feel like it so easily could have become twee and a bit trite to just,
Hmm.
like, but
Mhm.
um, it's in the way it is where he is still trying to be reserved and hold it together. Uh,
Barely.
Barely.
Mhm.
I think it's more affecting that way, and I love the moment where he watches his parents be affectionate,
Mhm.
and Shiana says she never saw that from in her life givers,
Mhm.
and yeah, I love that we have that emotional core to this episode, and I yeah, it does kind of leave you wanting more, but in a way that I think is good to
Mhm.
leave you wanting more.
Yeah, it wasn't like poorly done or anything like that. It was very I mean, I was moved to tears while we were watching it.
Mhm.
It was very affecting.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's always such a big aspect of time travel episodes and movies and such is the desire to want to change things in a bad way. Like there's wanting to
Hmm.
make sure the timeline goes the right way, and then there's those like sort of inner desires to like, connect with a loved one who is going to die or get rich quick or something, like, set yourself up for the
Yeah.
future to be rich or whatever. So to see John like really fighting that, and then in the last minute he does break down and says the thing about like, don't wait, but by then she's not listening, and it is kind of like this like little little gut punch,
Mm.
because you know how much it affects, like, the Won't Get Fooled Again episode. Ben Browder's performance in that is incredible when she's like
Hmm.
all sick and she's grabbing at him and
Oh yeah,
everything. It kills me every time. So watching this
absolutely.
episode makes you think of that episode and remembering how that deeply that affected him. So that might be why I'm kind of saying like part of me wishes there was more, because that was so effective and this is more understated, but the understated thing does work for it. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just more, I want more, because I really like that performance from Ben Browder. And in this
Yeah.
one, he's a lot more reserved, but he kind of has to be. So I get it.
Yeah,
And that's probably the best compliment for the acting and the writing is that I want
Mhm.
more because it was awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. The sort of yeah, the tension I think provides some needed tension in this episode. That's not
Mhm.
zany, but is
Yeah.
real. Um, yeah, and I love the way it's directed too, where you see the shadow of his hand on her face.
Mhm.
That is just oh, just beautiful, beautifully done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if any of us would have done better if we were to encounter a past loved one.
Oof. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
That'd be hard.
Can't imagine the world without my mother in it. Probably neither could John when he was that kid.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like that although our John, when we first meet our John, he's quite a stable, decent bloke. He's since become
Mhm.
unstable from everything that happened to him. But I like
Hmm.
that I like that I almost dislike this kid.
Yeah.
um the sort of like yeah, it just feels very human to have been like he wasn't always this, you know, centered good dude when that he was when we first meet him. He had to grow
Hmm.
into that. And I think that yeah, I like I like that. Even as I
Mhm.
kind of want to smack the kid.
Yeah. You definitely have this thing with young John where you're kind of just like, this little shit. Like, can you just not? Can you just I get it, you're going through some stuff, and life is hard. It's not easy when you don't get to ever see your parents like in this affectionate way that the older John gets to look back and see, and the relationship between John and his father is obviously there's some strain there.
Hmm.
But also there's a part of you, because we are older, or they're looking at John, young John, being kind of like, you little shit, you don't get it. You just don't understand what's the greater picture going on.
Yeah.
He does feel a little, I don't know exactly. He feels a little one-dimensional to me, young John, because it just feels like his whole thing is like, I'm a teenager and I'm grumpy. Other than, also horny because he has sex with Karen Shaw. You know what I mean? Like, he feels a little one note to me. But that's kind of okay, I guess, because he is supposed to be a young teenager. So,
Hmm.
or however old he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be kind of the snot-nosed brat of the episode. So for once it's not Shannon.
Yeah, or Chauncey.
Or Joffrey,
Ugh.
or even
Why do
Rigel
you,
for that matter.
why did you?
Well, yeah, because that those teenagers. Yes, and
Yeah.
I think it's good that we get a realistic teenager, and that also we don't get all that much of him
Hmm. Yeah, we got just enough.
because that could get old real quick.
Hmm.
Yes, knock him out, but don't kill him. Granny,
Oh, Granny.
Granny.
So she's
Josh's ongoing feelings adjust feelings journey about Granny.
she I just this is probably like the most that she's actually tried to be helpful, but still was not very good at it at all. And I mean, like, accidentally killing the guy that they were supposed to be, like, that is her friend, ostensibly. And her mad scientist experiments on Street
Yeah.
Trooper.
Yeah.
Yep.
She just like she's driving me insane while we're watching the episode. She's driving me bananas while we're watching the episode. And unfortunately not in a very good way, like not in a fun way. I was like exasperated.
Yeah.
And I don't I like this show. I don't like feeling like that, but here we are.
Mhm. And it's also kind of, I almost feel like it would have made more sense for her. Like, I know that they needed her to be like, oh, make people forget. And then, she gives the thing to young John to knock him out for the thing. But there's a part of me that wonders what this episode would have been like if she hadn't been with them back in time, if she had been on like Moya when, the Peacekeepers show up. Or if they had just put her somewhere else, she's waiting on a ship somewhere. I don't know. Because yeah, she is a little like, what are you doing? What's going on, Randy? You silly sausage. But she's doing what she needs. She's very uh I don't know, maybe plot convenient in this episode in the sense that she's here to do these specific things, but she doesn't do them well because again, it's kind of that zany episode thing of like this goes wrong and this goes wrong. So what goes wrong? Of course, Naranti like kills John accidentally again. I do love the line she says about like, oh, haven't you ever died before? It's like, yeah, this is actually his fifth time dying on the show. Like he's died so many times. Everybody in the show has done at least 3 times by this point. So yeah, why not one more? And then there's that whole thing is kind of funny, but it is kind of just like what is this episode? What it doesn't really make sense to me that they don't leave anybody behind on Moya with Scorpius and Sikozu. Like to me, that's a thing that doesn't really make sense. Like I think we're at the point in this show, and remind me if I'm wrong, where Scorpius is a little bit more free to wander around the ship and stuff, but it still feels like really you're gonna leave him alone with the one person who basically has accepted everything he says and treats you all like you're idiots. Like, come on, I don't think that's a smart move at all.
They did
Like it
shut
works out in
down.
this case, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, they did shut down most of the functions that. So it was only pilot. They locked down Moya.
Mhm.
So they did make a point of saying that, but yes,
Yeah.
yes,
As if
Yeah.
Scorpius isn't clever enough to have come up with a way to deal with
Right.
that.
It's like, I don't trust Scorpius, but
yeah. The only reason why he doesn't is because it's not in his best interest.
yeah.
Right now, currently.
He's
But the
happy
crew
to
doesn't know
leave
that.
John because that would mean he's out of the hands of the Scarens, which is his main concern.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, it's there's some plot gumble machine things going on.
As there
Yeah,
will.
like I also don't really buy that Graza would just leave Moya. Like I know she leaves the thing behind to like hunt them or whatever afterwards, like the scary little thing.
Chekhov's creature, yeah.
Chekhov's creature. I do end up like some of the stuff they do with the creature later without spoiling it. But like in terms of her just leaving the ship, it does seem a little strange because like so much of the show is the peacekeepers trying to get Moya, and they finally get Moya, and they're like, "Well, John's not here, so I guess you can go." Like, okay,
Yeah. It's a bit convenient.
it is.
Yada yada yada. But
But
we're getting where we need to be to put things
Yeah.
in place.
Mhm.
So how do we like the little X-Files button?
Oh yeah,
That was
fun.
cute.
That
Yeah.
was a little. I was never like an X-Files girly back in the day, but like I do appreciate the reference.
Mhm.
My parents loved the X-Files and deemed it too scary for me to watch when it was airing and I was a child. So most of what I've seen of the X-Files has been through the crack of my bedroom door.
Oh, okay. That's a great way to watch it, honestly.
It was, yeah. But no, I've since gone back and rewatched it, and yeah, it's supreme. And as soon as they like started pulling back, I was like, oh, they're doing the thing. They're doing
Yeah,
the thing.
doing the thing.
Yeah, and the pumpkin. No, only an alien could make this.
Hmm.
It's like, okay.
Sure, Jan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Scorpius pumpkin, and Make it scary.
It's funny. For the longest time, I thought that pumpkin was a monkey, and I never understood that it was. I didn't know that was Scorpius.
It does. It does. It really looks like a monkey,
like
but
a monkey.
I'm quite certain it's intended to look like Scorpius.
Yeah. And by the way, when I say I didn't know until very recently that it was Scorpius, literally today. As I looked at the trivia for this episode, I was like, wait, that's Scorpius? Oh, that makes more sense. Okay. Like, how did Rigel know what a monkey looks like? Okay. That makes sense.
It's Monkey Scorpius.
Monkey Scorpius. Yeah.
Scorpion in a monkey suit. I don't know. Yeah. I can't remember when it dawned on me. Oh, it's attempting to do Scorpius, but looks mostly like a monkey.
Yeah.
And then we have the final bit.
Yes. What a great cliffhanger. So good. That moment of, was it a trout or a bass? It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is now the however many times we've seen Jack. Is it the real Jack or not? Who knows? Who are those other people with him?
What do you think, Josh?
I'm very excited. I'm very curious to know what sort of potential ripples from the events of this episode move forward into next episode. Because like they mostly got everything back the way that it was supposed to be, but you know, what if the nosy Karen lady who lived next door wound up becoming like the director of the CIA as a result or something like that? Like stuff like that intrigues me. The drama of John and Jack finally for real, finally getting to reunite intrigues me.
So you think it really is him?
I mean, it's only because I like know the structure of television do I think that this is really him.
Like it couldn't
Fair
possibly not be him again, right? That
like
that
not
logic.
a third time. Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the logic that I'm going with, that I'm sort of hanging my hat on right now.
Yeah.
And then if it is him, how well will this go? Because we've already had a human reaction to show how well this could go. If it's not him, what the hell, Ancients? Or whoever else is doing this now. Maldus.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Freaking Maldus shows back up.
Yeah.
So would you like to know the title of the next episode?
I would.
Terra Firma.
It's him.
Locking in the answer right now. It's him.
Yeah, that's pretty. It certainly seems that way. All signs point to that.
All signs are.
We will be reacting to this episode.
I look forward to experiencing it.
Yeah, we will be recording our response to Terra Firma.
I really liked all of the I should say, all of the relationships amongst our people and how like friendly and supportive and understanding they all were about what John was going through. That was really sweet.
Yeah.
Even Rigel. We always have to say it like
sugar
that.
High.
Even
How legal is this, Red? Oh, okay. Well, I think maybe it's time to talk about some comments from our listeners.
Oh, yay. Honestly, guys, I always love hearing from you. I really appreciate it whenever you guys comment on our stuff.
So we got a few on Kubai Clam, not surprisingly, since that we ended up with 2 episodes on that one. From Jenny Toon, I've only seen season 4 once, unlike earlier seasons, and I had forgotten this episode entirely. Wiped it from my mind, perhaps. Love how you took 2 podcast episodes to unpack how bad it is. I can't remember what comes next, but glad to hear Sara imply it's a good one. It is. Or at least one that calls for immediate rewatching.
Yeah, oh man, Kubai Clan, that one's a mess. That one's
yeah.
Yep.
We really did spend it. We had to come back a second night to finish our discussion on it.
Finish, yeah. There's a lot to unpack. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Like I went into the first episode, Mandy, that we were recording, And internally, I was like, all right, I've got this heart out, but this episode kind of sucked. And usually, when it's a bad episode, we don't like, we're not going to record for 2 hours, surely. So, an
But
hour and 45 minutes into it,
yeah.
I
We'd
had to
only
like
just
put my
started,
hand up and be like,
and we'd only just started on the anti-Semitism. So,
there were so many different isms to unpack.
yeah. I think I'm
Yeah.
quite proud of the work we did, even though that is a
As am
stinker of
I.
an episode.
Yeah, it was a great podcast.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Jim. Thank you.
On Kubai Clam again from Chick Flick Guru, trying to find something positive to say about this episode.
Don't bother.
Seeing Barry Otto reminds me to rewatch Strictly Ballroom and his quirky performances there. Done.
That was well done, Chick Flick. You dug deep for that.
That was some real mining.
Yeah.
From Yum Yum Podcast, also on Kubai Clam. Truly one of the worst episodes, and yet another entry in the 4th season that plays fast and loose with sexual assault. It's just much more scattergrained version of I Yench, You Yench, and lacks the brilliant physical comedy that episode brought to the table, with the characters feeling the sensation of the other. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
From I Shrink Therefore I Am, from Ren the Barbarian. If the wicked discussion is truly lost, you know how to find me. Look to the western sky.
We love you, Ren.
Yes, it is truly lost, and yeah, we may find some time to do another discussion of it. From Molly Mockery on a Prefect Murder. I've always enjoyed this one. It's admittedly a bit of a popcorn episode, but the performances have always carried the lack of plot for me. Fun fact, there were actually 3 defenestrations of Prague, 2 in the 1400s and the most famous one in the 1600s. Okay,
Nice.
Good to know.
Is a prefect murder the one where Aaron is set up to be a murderer, but it's like a weird mind control thing, like it's like a bees in a guy's head or something? Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It's like, wait, is that a weird one?
That is the one. It's a thing.
There's
It
so many
happens.
weird episodes in season 4, and that's saying something because this is Farscape. Like, we already had so much weird shit in this show, and then like
Thank
things
you.
like, Kubai Clam and fucking Prefect Murder and this episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a weird season, and I'm here for it.
We got a message on Facebook actually from Unrealized Realities from Anne Marie
That's the one.
Patterson. Been waiting for y'all to get to today's episode so I could send you this meme. Someone on the old Television Without Pity Farscape boards made this during our great Farscape rewatch in the gap before PK Wars came out. It makes me laugh so hard because it's a total spoiler for someone who's not up to Unrealized Reality yet, but in a way that doesn't actually spoil anything. The most they ever get is, hey, shouldn't he be naked? So it's the scene. I think you can all visualize the scene. Someone has knees around Crichton's head, and it says Farscape, baby, you had me at hello. So that's a good
the
one.
show. That's just the show right there.
That's the show. And let me see if we have any on the Discord. Really appreciate your discussion of Kubai Clam. Looking forward to part 2. This is from Zenady. What frustrates me so much about this episode is that I feel like the crew saves the day with drag has the potential to be so much fun, especially considering that we've seen Farscape twist tropes in interesting and thoughtful ways before. I really want to have a good time with that premise. Instead, we got this thoughtless mess of dread. Yep.
Yeah. I think that was the substance of a large chunk of our conversation in the second episode that we recorded, was how much missed potential there was for that episode.
Yeah, and another on a similar vein from Cassidy C. I actually think the weird psychic connection thing from eating bacterial symbiotes in shellfish would be an interesting thing to explore if it wasn't included entirely for the vagina pun. Yep.
Yeah. I had the opinion during that episode that like minor tweaks at various points along the way in the script, and we would have had a much better product. I recall, sorry, you had the opinion that it just needed to be chucked out and redone from the ground up.
Kill your darlings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the John and Drag is great.
Yeah.
Any other reason to get him there and not have him be the complete, chauvinist that John actually isn't. But we spent a long time discussing breaking that down.
Listen to
I don't
that
know
episode.
if Mandy has
Yeah.
any thoughts that but just listen to the 2 episodes.
I'll have to
Just
listen to them.
The 2-hour discussion we had with
Mhm.
with Zilla about the transphobia and the misogyny and the anti-Semitism and yeah,
all of the
Yeah.
isms.
all of
All the
the
isms.
all of the
All of them. Yep.
yeah. But yeah, this episode was great. And we appreciate your comments. We'd love to hear any comments from you on this discussion. Maybe
Heck
you
yeah.
want to point out some of the Easter eggs that you saw. I know I saw ones with ET with the Reese's Pieces, and uh, and of course there was the Kermit alphabet and the Wheel of Fortune, and we had several Back to the Future references, and I think some Voyage Home ones with like machine go.
Yeah. Dargo driving. Very funny.
Yeah.
Yes, Dargo driving was delightful, and putting the helmet is always give Anthony Simcoe reasons to do physical humor. So, what was your favorite part of this episode?
My favorite part of the episode is definitely Erin Sun telling that child that she's not doing a good job on Sesame Street. Just getting upset, and she's there to learn, and she's tired of this little girl's nonsense. That's the best part of the episode for me.
It's a toss-up, and so one's comedic and one's dramatic. My comedic favorite part was, I think it's the first time when Straight Trooper comes into the house,
Mhm.
and everybody is like trying to be human. Certainly not aliens. These are costumes. Like that whole scene was great for me. And then my dramatic best bit is don't ignore the pain.
Mm, yeah. I kind of like. There's so much good comedic moments because I'm going to do the same and pick a comedic moment and a dramatic moment. There's some wonderful comedic bits. Just for its absurdity, I like John in the milk.
Mhm.
Just I'm drinking milk. I don't know why. It's just it's just so little but so cute. Um, and my dramatic moment is the shadow of his hand.
Yeah.
It's just before, yeah, it's just kills me. Did you want to do a silly and serious moment, Mandy? You picked a silly moment.
Yeah, I guess my silly moment is obviously Aaron Sun. My more dramatic moment, I think that moment when he is talking to Chiana about getting to see his parents being affectionate together, and how she's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I never got to see that with my life givers.
Yeah.
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 That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
It's a pretty good episode.
Yeah.
Solid. And it sets us up for quite an episode after this. So yeah.
Oh yes, I'm not sure who'll be guesting on the next one, but it is a personal. It was one of those very affecting the first time I watched it moments in the next episode, and I think yeah you'll yeah that'll be something to talk about because yes
Yeah.
so we will yeah there is in terms of content warning there's definitely some exploration of PTSD, which is not surprising given the show.
Yeah, like good, because they all have it.
Yeah, I think that's the only real, warning that need be given. There's going to be some exploration of parental issues. Yeah. And once again, Josh and I will be reacting to that episode. And that reaction will be available for patrons, along with a reaction to the episode we just discussed. And also, I don't know when I'll be putting it out, but I introduced Josh to the first episode of Red Dwarf.
Ooh,
as a special Patreon.
Interesting.
As a special Patreon surprise.
All right, that's fine. Go to Patreon. Go support them. Go watch that. I bet that's very entertaining.
Come on over.
Yeah,
you enjoy it. You had fun with it, didn't we?
I love British television. I love British humor. I was on board.
Yeah.
I love sci-fi.
I will be showing him the episode that goes with the episode coming up for people who understand these cryptic.
Yes.
Okay, so I think with that we've done our favorite parts, and thank you, Mandy, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Appreciate
I love coming back. I can use my whole hand now when I'm talking about how many times I've been on this podcast. So that's exciting. So 5. So yeah, and I'm always happy to come back again. There's still time.
And do you want to tell the folks where they can find you?
Yes, so I am mainly Mandy on all the social medias. I am not on Twitter because screw that, but I am also pretty active on Instagram and Blue Sky. And I also, of course, have a YouTube channel, Mainly Mandy. I make video essays kind of about whatever I want, a lot of stuff about polyamory, but I also have some videos about some media that I like. Like I made a video, one of my last videos was about Michael Flanagan and talking about death, very uplifting subject. Right now I am working on a video specifically about Maine and Maine, how Maine's been in the political eye a lot lately with the whole like Trump administration focusing so much on the fact that we allow transgender athletes in sports, and that whole fucking mess that has just kind of spiraled into what it is. So that's coming out soon, and it's going to be the most Maine video I've ever made. So definitely go check that out if you're interested.
It's very mainly Maine.
It is.
Mainly Mandy.
It's Maine all the way down.
Maine.
I highly recommend the death video. It's cathartic.
Oh, thank you. I really like that video. That was a good one.
You killed it.
Oh.
And for people who don't feel they have enough parental issues from this episode, should go watch Mandy's video about her mom.
Yeah, we're filming this on Mother's Day. So yeah, that's a really appropriate thing to go watch right now. Happy Mother's Day. Watch that one. Yeah.
The eulogy for your not dead mother.
Yeah.
It's an excellent video. It really is. And Josh, where can folks find you?
I'm but a humble traveler as we sail through the stars together. And I'm over on Instagram at Josh Gosdin. Just come on over. There's some food, there's some self-care. It's a good time over there. What about you, Sara? Where are you at? What are you doing?
Well, I am at the Fat Culture Critic. I recently did I spent the month of April reading the Pride and Prejudice live every weekday. That was really fun. I got to do voices and everything. And I'm working on some videos, and also I am planning, we're going to once again do Midsummer's Night Dream on summer solstice. Josh is going to be joining us. Mandy has other plans, and there'll be a lot of other friends joining us. I'm not entirely sure what we'll be raising money for this time. Possibly something involving immigrants, or maybe we may do Gaza again. Or there are so many things that need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we all also need some raising of the spirits. So we will be, you know, revisiting the Fae, um, with a different different um people in different roles this time. And yeah, it should be fun. So that'll be June 20th, which is the summer solstice this year. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. You weren't able to come last year because you were recovering. So
Yes, yes. Thankfully, well, hopefully, all things hold up.
yes, I cast you as the rests in between speeches. Yeah. So it's really wonderful to have you healthily joining us this time 1 year
I am
later.
looking forward to it,
Yeah.
and I like being healthy.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Um, so yeah, thank you all for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks, probably, with a guest of some kind. If editing Sara knows who, she will be filling in this now.
We'll be doing a podcast on a television episode.
Sci-fi channel show. Maybe.
We will be doing terra firma, and we will have a reaction for our Patreons. So you know where to find us, and all the. Okay, just say well. I need. I'm gonna figure out an outro before we finish the whole.
Dum.
Bye, folks.
Bye. And we're done. Because usually I'm pretty fun presenting, but not right now. And honestly, I don't hate it.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I went to get my haircut, my brief was cure was I'd like it to be queer but still soft.
Yeah.
Which I think she did already.
It's very it kind of makes me think of like an 80s or early 90s kind of look. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I love it. It looks great.
So, fun fact, my mom, who is gay as the day is long, did not know about the Subaru stereotype until after she bought her Subaru, and
Oh,
all of
really?
her me and all of her friends were like, "Oh, so you finally finished your
Uh,
metamorphosis?" And she goes, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you
really
mean?"
leaning into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a good car. Yeah, sure, mom.